boys 10 to 14 spend, and also double the amount of hours that 5 to 9-year-olds spend. And our evidence suggests that these gendered patterns exist and persist throughout the life course and throughout adulthood until folks are much older. This period is an important one for supportive relationships, as these really do influence and have significant effect on optimal adolescent development. This includes relationships with parents, with peers, and with non-family adults. Connections with others is an important part and an important aspect of the thriving that exists in models of positive youth development, of positive development. And positive social relationships predict better mental and physical health, as well as less risky behavior. Recent analysis and publications are suggesting that the second decade alone, the ages of 10 to 19, may be too narrow to capture this transition period of life, in part because due to changing norms, delays in marriage, as well as delays in transitions into work, that the end point may be well into the 20s, and suggest that the upper age limit could be usefully extended even up to 25. And so then why is it important now? And I think this is an important question to ask us. Why now? And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. The demographics is one, and that was a really excellent example that Olga provided earlier, that demonstration of missing the train. And this is really about the demographic dividend. Today's cohort of adolescents is the largest in history. This is the largest group ever of that age group in history. So it offers a unique opportunity, a chance to channel the potential of this group to drive social and economic growth. In some countries, the demographic situation is very pressing. Declining child mortality, declining fertility, longer lifespans means we really have that opportunity to reap that dividend and translate this into an economic boost that can help to drive incomes up and decrease poverty. The second example, and the second why now, is technology. Technology is transforming the way in which we live and work. And we think about our adolescents at home, oh, on Snapchat, on Facebook, oh, not again, please, get off your phone. But actually, we also know that technology and connectivity is driving business. It's driving innovation. And it's altering the environments in which we live and work. And evidence shows globally that adolescents around the world are at the forefront of technology adoption and use. And lastly, is the idea of sustainable development, and it's very much linked to the Sustainable Development Agenda. It's the value of young people's contribution to sustainable development, primarily because the future belongs to young people, firstly. But also, secondly, because, and adults will remember the Millennium Declaration that was signed by 170 plus countries in 2000. There's been a huge investment and a huge commitment to improve child survival, to improve primary schooling. We've made a huge investment in the last 15 years, from the year 2000 to the year 2015. Many of those kids are adolescents today, entering the sustainable development era. And between now and 2030, the commitment that global leaders have signed up to provides us an opportunity to do 2 things. One, to make good on these initial commitments, the early investments, so that today young people can benefit in a sustained way towards positive trajectories in the future, but also to And this is really an evidence-based model for thinking about programming and policy development for young people. It recognizes that adolescence is a crucial period in an individual's life course. The first window is what I call a unique window. It's very consistent with a rights-based approach. A second window is a catch-up window. And the third one is what I'm calling a window into the future. The first window, the unique window. Here, I think many experiences and exposures we know happen only during the adolescent period. Think about breast development, menstruation, the final growth spurt. These are uniquely adolescent, and they only happen during that period in life. It is unique to the adolescent window. And undeniably, that puberty, the turning point into adolescence, occurs only at the beginning of that period. And most of us are very thankful that we never have to experience it more than once, right? So with the activation of the growth axis during puberty, the physical changes of the appearance of the body, the growth, the change in proportion of lean and fat body mass, we're seeing physical changes during this period of life. So there are these biologic and endocrine developments that are happening. The second one is increasingly we are seeing neuroscientific evidence, and this is really new. This is a function of having technology that helps us to scan the brain and understand what's happening inside using magnetic resonance imaging. This is very, very new science, and you can see the pictures on the right there. And this has been available more recently to support the unique nature by showing and revealing the plasticity of the brain, the plasticity of the adolescent brain with the prefrontal cortex developing during this period. It also undergoes a period of a synaptic elimination and pruning, usually done to strengthen connections in the brain. This all happens in early, mid-adolescence, and ensures that the remaining circuits are more efficient. The connectivity of the brain regions support reasoning, continues to grow during the adolescent period, and the regions behind emotional and social processing continue to experience change into the early 20s. Cognitive development as well matures, and you see the development towards adult-level cognitive reasoning during this period of life. We see the development of affect regulations, emotional regulation, executive functions, and there's increasing capacity of concentration and future orientation. And lastly, the psychosocial development. And here you see an enhanced sensitivity to external worlds and stimuli. Peer influences are important, but resistance to it increases with age. Identity formation increases and is formed and developed, and new relationships start to be part of normal adolescent experiences, including romantic relationships. So what are the implications from this first window? The first is that as the brain matures, we see behavioral control and risk-taking change. And this may explain why sometimes children don't call when they're late, adolescents don't call when they're out late. Those risks change as adolescents get older, and the balance of taking risk and making decisions is being wired as they grow. The second one is that this period of life is biologically prepared for learning. It is really ready for learning, especially early adolescence. It's a unique moment to acquire new skills, and studies suggest that engaging with life skills in particular during the ages of 10 to 12 can be incredibly effective. The second window is a very exciting one. The second window is a window of catch-up, and it provides an opportunity to redress or to make up for gaps in exposures and vulnerabilities that were experienced earlier in childhood. This evidence is emerging, and it's very new, and we know very little about how it works. But it's very exciting for scientists and for people and practitioners working with young people to think that if in fact society missed an opportunity in early childhood to make the best, to provide the best, that there's another chance later on in life during the adolescent period to still make some effect. So increasingly this evidence is emerging, and I'll share with you just two very quick examples. The first, and perhaps the most arresting development, is evidence around reversals to stunting. So this is work done by Alan and his colleagues that shows that stunting, while best addressed in the first 1,000 days, can be addressed as well in the adolescent period, and that the possibility of catch-up growth during adolescence is possible. The study shows that 50% of children stunted at year 1 were no longer stunted at year 8 in the absence of an intervention, suggesting that optimal growth needs, should they have not been received earlier in life, one can still intervene with some effect. We know that height for weight and stunting is a marker for many other areas of well-being, so this finding is really important. It's not the only one, but it is very important. And I think we still need more evidence to look beyond stunting to see where else can we think about catch-up happening during this second window. A second example there is drawn from work in Vietnam, and here it shows links between scoring poorly in cognitive testing and an increased risk of exiting school early, for example. So in Vietnam, that study showed that 48% of those in the bottom quartile of mathematics scores, had left school by the time they're 15. So this talks about cumulative disadvantage. And I think one of the striking facts that comes out of this is that outcomes in one domain of adolescent life can influence other domains and multiple domains. So it's very important to really have a multi-sectoral perspective when we're looking at young people, a coherent strategy for how we address their needs. The third and final window is a window into our future. And here there are two parts. The first part is really understanding from the science and from the evidence that it is a unique period to promote positive behaviors that last a lifetime. We know that adolescents who adopt healthy eating habits, exercise during this period, tend to carry these behaviors their whole lives. We also know that harmful behaviors such as smoking adopted during this period also tend to last a lifetime. So there's a potential here to create positive spirals of behavioral patterns that go through life. Conversely, and looking at the second graph, the second photo there, adolescents are also very crucially the parents of tomorrow's children. And we know that their well-being does not only impact their own lives, but those of future generations. Interventions during this period have intergenerational impacts, and from the evidence we know that maternal education, so completing school as an adolescent, has impacts on the well-being of children of adolescent mothers, as well as we can imagine the ability to stay in school, be gainfully employed, or make decisions in the household can have impacts on their children. Very quickly, I'll share with you some examples here of intra and intergenerational effects, highlighting the high returns of investment to secondary education for girls and boys, higher for girls than boys, positive effects on annual earnings, decreased fertility rates, increased labor force participation, and on their own children's well-being and human capital. So investing in girls' education is in some way a really positive opportunity in so many different domains. I've presented here also some regional examples. Colombia has shown recently a 10% return on investment to a year of schooling. Haiti has shown benefit cost ratios of 4.4 for a scholarship program for disadvantaged rural adolescent girls. And a big study in Brazil has shown that while the costs to education and social norms social norms programs plus eliminating work for adolescents cost $7 billion US dollars. The return was 5 times more, $35 billion US dollars. All to say that education in and of itself isn't enough. We need quality education, we need inclusive education, we need to ensure that reading skills, comprehension, maths and sciences we're providing a complementary and well-rounded set of education outcomes. And the disparities in education outcomes as well are very disturbing. So these also need to be narrowed. So just in conclusion, a few last remarks. Demonstrating the case for investing in adolescence is really underpinned by very strong rights-based focus, very much so. I hope this presentation has shown that gender-responsive approaches are really critical. We really do need to understand that boys and girls within this group are different and mature differently. We need to also recognize, and I think we've seen, that the opportunities for earlier MDG investments can be maximized, so we can make the most out of what the development community has already committed to. There is evidence of high returns for the future, but we do require some strengthening of linkages across well-being domains and policy sectors. Perhaps the most important message to leave you with, and this is my last message, is that really young Peruvians need to be at the heart of that political agenda and an important pillar in national development. Increasing investments in youth programs coupled with fair, safe spaces for young people to feel involved and effectively participate can contribute to unlocking the potential of young people in Peru. So with that, I thank you. I would take 30 more seconds to share with you some resources for those of you who are interested. There are no references in this presentation, but all references can be found on the website so that I share them with you here. There is a blog on the adolescent window. There's a research digest that comes out quarterly, also in Spanish. There's some information on the adolescent brain, and you can find this all at the UNICEF website down at the bottom. I manage a 4-year program of work in 9 countries. That's a large program of research on social and structural determinants, courtesy of DFID. We have 200 over publications, and our program has been taking an assets-based approach to young people. I encourage you to look at that as well. There's a great scope of information on child and adolescent well-being in gap maps. Here is an interactive tool to dig down and look at what programs exist that are evaluated and also where there are gaps. And you can filter by country, you can filter by age, you can filter by national level, subnational level. It allows you a lot of opportunities. Again, it's also at the website. And lastly, the volume. I've circulated some flyers about the volume. This one has taken about a year and a half in the making. It has over 50 experts, really policy and program-facing academics who have contributed to this volume from across the world to share with us the best lessons, the best evidence-based lessons of program and policy approaches for young people, and I encourage you to take a look at it. With that, I thank you.
Muchas gracias, Prerna. Es un placer y es un honor tener la información de última mano de lo que la investigación nos está diciendo sobre la gran oportunidad que representan los adolescentes y el periodo de la adolescencia. Quiero sin más darle la palabra a Alan Sánchez Jiménez. Alan es doctor en Economía por la Universidad de Oxford, institución que también le otorgó el máster en Economía para el Desarrollo. Actualmente es investigador principal de GRADE, investigador principal del Estudio de Niños del Milenio e investigador asociado del Departamento de Desarrollo Internacional de la Universidad de Oxford. Asimismo, ejerce labores de docencia en el Departamento de Economía de la Universidad de Piura en temas relacionados a métodos cuantitativos de evaluación de impacto y a políticas de desarrollo social. Anteriormente fue especialista en investigación económica de la Gerencia de Estudios Económicos del Banco Central de Reserva del Perú. Sus áreas de interés incluyen economía de la educación, economía de la salud, economía laboral y economía del comportamiento. Está particularmente interesado en el análisis de datos longitudinales y en la evaluación de programas públicos a través de metodologías experimentales y cuasi experimentales. Alan, bienvenido.
Bueno, buenas tardes con todos. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Estoy realmente bien contento de estar en este evento y, bueno, en particular en este panel, que es uno de los temas que, bueno, que han llamado mucho mi interés. Agradezco a todos los panelistas y espero que podamos tener, que esto sea una conversación más que nada, ¿no? Entonces, yo les quiero contar un poco de mi experiencia como investigador desde Perú, trabajando en un estudio que se llama Niños del Milenio. Y lo que les voy a contar básicamente es evidencia que proviene de ese estudio. Y digamos, ¿no? Por ejemplo, el gobierno peruano tiene, como cualquier otro gobierno, realiza encuestas anuales para ver el estado de la población en distintas temáticas, ¿no? En salud, por ejemplo, tenemos la encuesta demográfica. En temas más sociales tenemos la encuesta nacional de hogares. Y estos encuestas están bien, tienen que hacerse, y lo que te proveen son como fotos. Cada vez que lo haces es como una foto del país, ¿no? Son fotos que vamos tomando y vamos viendo cómo evoluciona el país, ¿no? Pero hay otra manera también de hacer análisis de los hogares, y es siguiéndolos a través del tiempo, ¿no? O sea, consiste básicamente en, ok, tomo una primera foto de un grupo de hogares y luego trato de seguirlos en el tiempo. Entonces esto genera obviamente hay una serie de beneficios. También es un poco más difícil porque se imaginan las familias se mueven por todo el país, algunas familias se van del Perú, migran o ya no quieren ser parte del estudio. Entonces hay una serie de retos que se generan, pero lo que te permite es de alguna manera ver qué está ocurriendo con las familias a medida que el país cambia. ¿Quién cambia para mejor, para peor y por qué? Entonces, Niños del Milenio es un estudio que hizo lo que les estoy diciendo, siguiendo a niños muy pequeños. O sea, son dos grupos, pero un grupo en particular lo seguimos desde que tienen entre 6 y 18 meses. Y la primera foto que tomamos fue el 2001. Y bueno, ya han pasado más de 15 años. Entonces, claro, de hecho, inicialmente el estudio era más que nada sobre primera infancia, porque eso es lo que podíamos observar en los datos, pero ahora es un estudio que está fuertemente centrado en adolescencia, porque esas son las edades que podemos observar, ¿no? Entonces les voy a contar un poquito de lo que observamos. El estudio, como les comento, se llama Niños del Milenio. El estudio Niños del Milenio, de hecho, es un estudio internacional. Es una de las cosas, digamos, no fue la idea original hacerlo de aquí desde Perú, vino de Reino Unido. Reino Unido es un país que tiene una larga tradición de hacer estudios longitudinales, no solo uno, sino varios, ¿no? Porque se imaginarán que así aprendes un poquito qué está cambiando en tu país y cómo eso está afectando a los hogares de ese país en el tiempo. Entonces el estudio se ha hecho en Perú, pero también se ha hecho en Etiopía, en una región de India que tiene más de 100 millones de habitantes, que era Andhra Pradesh, y que ahora se ha dividido en dos, y en Vietnam, ¿sí? En cada uno de estos países no se tiene una muestra representativa del país, sino que son muestras que, digamos, son muestras que han seleccionado particularmente a familias más pobres. Entonces son muestras pro pobres, pero la idea es que hemos tratado de seguir la mayor variabilidad en términos de los estilos de vida, de los niveles de vida de las personas. Entonces el estudio va pues a costa, sierra y selva, va a zona urbana y rural, en todo el país, con el objetivo de entender las causas y las consecuencias de la pobreza infantil. Ese fue nuestro primer objetivo, ¿no? Entonces aquí les he puesto en este mapita, pueden ver un poquito el diseño del estudio, ¿no? O sea, cada puntito rojo es uno de nuestros clústeres o distritos originales, y estamos siguiendo a niños en esos 20 distritos que fueron aleatoriamente seleccionados en el 2001, y dentro de cada distrito tenemos un grupo de 100 niños y niñas que seguimos desde que tenían entre 6 y 18 meses, y también un grupo más pequeño, más reducido, de jóvenes que tenían 8 años en la primera vez que los seguimos y ahora tienen 22 años, ¿no? Entonces, estos dos grupos nos permiten ver un poquito qué es lo que está pasando en la adolescencia y entre los jóvenes adultos en Perú. Eso es un poquito para mostrarles, para que digamos, podamos conversar mejor. Ese es un dibujito que más o menos muestra nuestro diseño, ¿no? Tenemos esta cohorte menor que seguimos desde que tenía aproximadamente 1 año y le tomamos una foto a los 5 años después, a los 8 años, a los 12 y a los 15 años. Y luego está esta otra cohorte de niños un poco más grandes que seguimos desde los 8 años y le tomamos una foto cuando tenían 12, 15, 19 y 22. Esta es una muestra un poquito más pequeña de niños y niñas y esta es una muestra un poquito más grande, ¿no? Entonces lo que voy a contarles primero es, como queremos hablar un poquito de adolescencia, contarles un poquito qué es lo que ha pasado con los adolescentes en Perú, comparando a la cohorte mayor que tenía 15 años en el año 2009 con la cohorte menor que hace poco cumplió 15 años en el 2016, ¿no? ¿Y cuál es la diferencia? Que los chicos que seguimos desde que nacieron, desde más pequeños, de alguna manera se han beneficiado de varias cosas positivas que pasaron en el país en la década del 2000, particularmente en el aspecto económico, ¿sí? Entonces vamos a ver que han habido ciertas mejoras, digamos, ¿no? Nada es blanco y negro, o sea, hay muchas cosas por mejorar, pero quiero mostrarles primero algunas buenas noticias, ¿sí? Algunas buenas noticias que observamos en nuestro estudio y que, digamos, yo los saco de nuestro estudio Niños de Milenio, pero que también conversa de manera muy cercana con resultados pues, que muestran el Ministerio de Desarrollo e Inclusión Social, el Ministerio de Educación, el Ministerio de Salud, con las muestras oficiales del país. Una cosa que observamos es que han habido importantes mejoras en la tasa de matrícula. Si uno se enfoca en los y las jóvenes de 15 años, digamos, en el año 2016, y los compara con jóvenes de la misma edad hace 7 años, en el 2009, lo que observas es que los y las jóvenes de ahora, la probabilidad que estén en el colegio es mayor, matriculados, el número de años que han completado en el colegio es mayor, y es más probable que tengan la edad correcta para su grado. Todo eso te sugiere que, digamos, algo está mejorando en el sistema, ¿no? Desde que están comenzando a entrar al colegio a la edad correcta y están repitiendo menos. Eso es una cosa importante. Y también hemos encontrado mejoras en los niveles de aprendizaje. O sea, tomamos pruebas de comprensión lectora, de matemáticas, de conocimiento de vocabulario, y en todas las dimensiones han habido mejoras en los y las jóvenes de 15 años de ahora comparados con los y las jóvenes de hace unos años, ¿no? Hemos encontrado también, y eso se relaciona un poquito con lo que contaba Pretna hace un momento, mejoras